Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, of course, whenever Trump or any Republicans accomplish something that we all want, we civilized people, including lefts and the right, what does our so-called left come out and do? They come out and pick on the color of their tie, or they take a single word that they say and make it into a huge insult or something ridiculous. So here's a perfect example of what we have on the left, or the so-called left. They're not left, they're just downers, of course. And this is why we actual leftists are fucking sick of them.
Italy, we have a young woman who's, I'm not allowed to say it because usually it's the end of your political career if you say it. She's a beautiful young woman. Now, if you use the word beautiful in the United States about a woman, that's the end of your political career, but I'll take my chances. Where is she? There she is. You don't mind being called beautiful. Yes, you are. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. She wanted to be here, and she's incredible, and they really respect her.
So out of this little clipped context, even doing as much as he could to clip exactly what he wanted to, and then come up with something to slander Trump and the Republicans with, he comes out of this with a statement that says, "This is gross. Mid-speech in Egypt, Trump called the Italian Prime Minister a beautiful young woman, and she looked very uncomfortable." He continues to humiliate the US on the world stage. She doesn't look uncomfortable. Calling a woman beautiful is a compliment. Obviously, this little fish probably has never had any relationship with a woman, a female. Maybe he's never even talked to one. And so this is what you have in the so-called left, which they are not left. They are simply downers. They are hate-filled, uneducated, uncivilized brats. Well, let's go and look at what the woman in question had to say from her own X account. Ringrazio il Presidente. Okay, we'll change it to English. I thank the President of the United States for restoring Columbus Day and thus reminding us that history cannot be erased. Columbus, of course, was Italian. For those of you who celebrate Columbus Day in America, you're celebrating an Italian, by the way, if you forgot. And I thank him for having on this occasion reaffirmed the ancient bond that unites our two nations and that both intend to strengthen, also thanks to the precious contribution of the proud Italian-American community. Obviously translated a little bit off with the Latin grammar. And she's choosing to put up a picture there of her looking very happy with Donald Trump, and she has a very good relationship with Donald Trump, and they get along great, which two leaders of two civilized Western countries should. This really is what the Democratic Party is all about. It's the Titanic, and it's well below half of the waterline. This is the party that we actual leftists are supposed to support? No. Here's a good little phrase. It must be hard to be a Democrat these days. Indeed it is. I've been a Democrat for roughly 25 years, something like that. I'm not sure if I've ever voted for a Republican in local elections in my state. I don't think I've voted for more than maybe one or two Republicans in other races. Never voted for a Republican president, much to my dismay, because now that Trump is in office and I can actually see what he is doing, it doesn't matter if I don't like the way he talks. It doesn't matter if I don't like any of his personality. I like what he's doing most of the time. In fact, I like what he's doing more than I liked what Biden was doing. And I voted for Biden. But yeah, it must be hard to be a Democrat these days. You have to support corruption. Yes, they're absolutely corrupt. We've got Chuck Schumer wanting to make a backroom deal, the way the Democrats have always done things, to try to weasel their aid for LGBTQIA plus ABC 123 programs in Ghana and In Guatemala, I've lived in Guatemala, by the way, they don't want your LGBTQIATI plus 1, 2, 3 bullshit. Crime, yes, the Democratic Party has become the party of crime. Domestic terrorism, yes, the Democratic Party has become the party of domestic terrorism. Promoting violence, yes, the Democratic Party has become the party that promotes and is the most violent demographic in the United States. Excuse pedophilia, yes, I think we can probably go both sides there. Rape, yes, they are promoting rapists across the United States, especially with the human trafficking of children that they are protecting. Assault, yes, they are constantly calling for assault on their political opponents, including Jay Jones, who actually called for the murder of his political opponent and his 2 children, which were aged, I believe, 2 and 5. And the Democratic Party is still front-running him as the candidate in Virginia. The ones who support war, yes. As we see here, Donald Trump has ended, according to him, 8 wars. I beg to differ. I think he made up a few of those. For example, the Azerbaijan and Armenia thing. Although they have been in conflict for a very long time. That is the legacy of the Armenian genocide that Turkey still refuses to acknowledge today. But yeah, the Democrats are the ones that have launched and started and enabled the most wars of any party by far. The Hamas war started because we had a Democratic president. The Iran proxy wars started and continued because we had weak Democratic presidents. I see that now. I see that crystal clear now. That's something that I would have argued and maybe, you know, defended my party over previously, but I think at this point, as a leftist, there is absolutely no way that I can deny that this is absolutely true. It is so crystal clear now. Oppose free speech? Yes, the Democratic Party is the party that opposes allowing anybody to have a opinion or a view that doesn't fall in line with the party. 1984 Orwellian bullshit. That is the Democratic Party. Support boys and girls sports and spaces? Yes, of course, that's the Democratic Party. Support chemically or surgically altering children to try to change their sex? Yes, of course, that is the Democratic Party. Kill babies up to birth? Yes, of course, that is the Democratic Party. Now, I am a pro-choice person. I do not side with Republicans on the pro-life, which I think is a bullshit line. It's not pro-life. I do think that there should be a limit on when an abortion should be allowed, because it is very obvious that babies are conscious within the womb at a certain stage of maturity within the womb. But my personal take on it is, you know, somewhere, and I'm not a medical doctor, and I would still take medical knowledge on this topic to form my opinion on it further. But my current take on it, which is very adaptable because I am not an expert, so this is a very loose opinion, welcoming to more scientific information. But my current take on it is that I believe, unless I am scientifically and medically incorrect, that it is somewhere around the 3-month term where babies start to form a consciousness. So up until 3 to 4 month term, I think it is fine for pro-choice, 100% pro-choice. That's my stance, until the fetus and the baby is matured to a stage where they have some sort of consciousness. I think it is viable for women to be able to choose. It's their body. That's where I am at. That is a leftist view. That's where I am going to stay. Despise Christianity and Judaism? Yes, the Democratic Party is not only supporting the genocides of Christians all over the world, including in Nigeria and Sudan, and in Somalia, and in Ethiopia, and in Iraq, and in Lebanon, and I could go on further. But of course, Jews. Yeah, the Democrats just want all the Jews to be erased from the earth and support the terrorists that are doing it, thinking that they won't be next. Ironically, they will be the first ones next. Love high taxes. Yes, we've seen that too. Can't not deny it. Be against good health? No, I wouldn't really argue that. Although the health programs of Democrats are incredibly corrupt, they are the ones that typically want more health for all people, so I don't agree with that. I think the Democratic Party still is the party that supports more healthcare, although the way that they do it is completely dysfunctional, and you could very well easily and justifiably argue that the Democratic Party is, because of the way that they are doing things, less effective on actually delivering good health than what the Republicans are currently doing. Ironically, I hate saying that, but it's true. Support gun control and propaganda. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's actually a good thing. Well, not the propaganda, of course, but supporting gun control I am absolutely in favor of. I have been a gun owner and living in the United States. I'm fully in favor of that. But I am in favor of gun control, where I had to go onto a wait list. I believe it was for 45 days in order to buy my first firearms when I lived in the States last. That's good. Support election cheating. Yeah, Democrats are definitely the party that's doing that. And want open borders. Yep, that's the Democrats, all right. In other words, you have to hate America. Well, you don't have to, but yep, the Democrats definitely hate America. So out of this whole list that obviously probably a Republican came up with, I disagree with, 10% of it, which are issues that I actually think are good. But the rest of it, I have to admit, as a lifelong Democrat, I have to admit, this is what our party is. And I will be leaving the Democratic Party and being independent. I just can't stomach being a Republican right now. I don't know why. I'll have to think about that. It is probably a lot of cognitive dissonance in my own head, where I simply have been brainwashed by so much Democratic propaganda for so many years that I still have a bit of a distaste for Republicans when I think about them. And so I'll have to overcome that myself. Because I don't want to hate the Republicans. I want to love them the same as I love any other Democrat, because they are my fellow Americans.
Watch this Democrat react to Trump's speech about freeing the hostages.
Democrat, good morning. What'd you think of the speech?
Yes, hi. That was I'm going to get choked up. A momentous speech. And I'm a conservative Democrat living here in New York, where this example of bringing peace to everyone should be thought of in New York City. If the Gazans really accept the goodness and the money that's going to come from the Arab community and from the world community, it can be a different world. And I'm sorry for being so emotional, but it's a great moment in history for everyone. And we have to reject hate, we have to reject Antifa, we have to reject Mandami, and we have to come together as human beings.
I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is one of those moments in history. This is going to go down as one of Donald Trump's greatest accomplishments, and Democrats on the left are literally looking across the aisle, and they are thanking him. They are congratulating him. He's getting a plan in place for a peace deal, and I know a lot of leftists do not like Donald Trump, but regardless of where you stand with Trump, you should stand with this for the world, Middle East peace. And all I can think to myself is the noticeable silence from some large creators like Harry Sisson, Aaron Parnas, which proves once again that all they do is create division and hate. Historic day, world peace and progress, this is what we voted for. And if you don't agree with that, you're on the wrong side of history. You need to get outside and touch grass seriously and just throw the phone away. All right, bye-bye.
Perfect. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we have. We have a mass brainwashed troglodyte horde of hate and division that is called the Democratic Party. And any of you leftists out there, I can guarantee you one thing. I'm a lot more left than you. Any of you people who think you're left, I'm still a lot more left than you. I'm living in a European socialist country. I'm a dual citizen. I'll be happy to get more into that later. I have a degree in political science and sociology. I've lived in 16 countries. I've spoken 7 languages. I have, for the majority of my adult life, had a very love-hate relationship with America because I am so left. And that has nothing to do with what's going on now. That has to do more with socioeconomics and imperialism I've lived a lot across Latin America and seen firsthand the effects of American imperialism, which is not so much of a thing now. It was in the 50s and 60s and 70s. It was in the 1910s and 20s. It's not so much of a thing now. And I've also seen that firsthand. I'm still not a fan of it. I love Cuba. I've lived in Cuba. Beautiful country. One of my favorite. I could go into more, but that's not the point of this video. If you think you're left, if you think you're a Democrat, I'm actually a leftist. I've walked the walk. I've lived the life. You're not a leftist. You're insane. You're morally bankrupt. You're disgusting. This is a message to you so-called Democrats, so-called leftists. You're an embarrassment to us leftists. Give credit where credit is due. Don't hate the Republicans. Love the Republicans. Love the right. They are your neighbors. They are your fellow Americans. We disagree on things. That's fine. That's what a democracy, that's what a democracy is about. And our party is called the Democratic Party. And we are the least democratic people. What the fuck is wrong with you? Okay. Love you long time. See you in the next video.